yan ang instructions ko. And the only way na hindi kayo makulong, and to justify the killing is bigyan mo talaga ng panahon na lumaban. Okay? So madalas po, Mr. Chair, no, nababanggit dito, self-defense ng mga pulis, yung ginagawa nilang pagbaril o pagpatay sa mga biktima ng or yung mga hinuhuli nila at pinapatay nila. So, as a lawyer, Mr. Chair, tanungin ko si Mr. Duterte, ano po ba yung elements of self-defense?
When your life is placed in danger, whether as a civilian or a police, you have the right to defend. And if your life is in danger, kill the idiot in front of you, or you will die as an idiot. At yung kriminal, malayang but have the satisfaction of doing his thing.
Type of discourse. The heated debate conveys a political or legal discourse. The central focus of the discussion emphasizes legal grounds for self-defense. The speaker seeks to understand the legal reason for self-defense, particularly when police trying to use it to justify their actions, where there is an act of killing drug victims. Afterward, she began questioning the element of self-defense the police were claiming. The debate centers around the idea of self-defense, particularly how the police use it to justify their actions. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Ms. Castro really wants to closely examine the police claims. The police have killed some drug suspects and are saying it was self-defense. But Ms. Castro isn't just taking their word for it. She's digging into their claims, asking questions like, what makes this self-defense? She examining each part of Mr. Duterte's explanation regarding the elements of self-defense, trying to figure out if it is a real legal defense or just an excuse. This is important because it challenges whether the police actions were actually justified. The debate isn't just about these incidents. It is all about making sure the police are accountable and that the people's rights are being not ignored and the law is applied correctly. Ms. Castro wants to find balance between giving the police the power they need and making sure they act fairly and transparently. And participants. This discussion was initiated by the legislator, Mrs. Castro, who questions the justification of police actions entails that the act of shooting the suspect is entirely self-defense. Mr. Duterte, a political figure, then responds to the question that the act of self-defense is everyone's right, especially in times of danger. In this statement of Mr. Duterte, if your life is in danger, kill the idiot in front of you, whether you are civilian or police. We can see that the action he did was questionable. That is the reason why Mrs. Castro truly examined about the claims.
So for the setting, the Senate hearing occurred on November 13, 2024, focused on investigating the questionable conduct of the late President Rodrigo R. Duterte during his administration. A significant portion of the discourse centered on the alleged human rights violation associated with Duterte's controversial war on drugs, which resulted in thousands of deaths of individuals accused of drugs offenses. For the purpose, the discourse between the two individuals centers on the complex and often controversial concept of self-defense, specifically within the context of police action and the justification of killing. The conversation likely delves into the legal and ethical boundaries of self-defense, particularly when the police officers are involved and the potential for excessive force arises. The discourse aims to explore the nuance of self-defense, considering factors such as the proportionality of force used, the level of threat perceived, and the potential of de-escalation techniques. Through this exploration, the individual seeks to understand the complexities of self-defense in the context of law enforcement and its implications for both individual rights and public safety.
After we gained information about the context of that discourse, let me share now with you my structural analysis of such discourse. But before that, let me introduce myself. I am Winzeth De La Rosa, and it's my part to discuss and share with you my analysis on the structure of that discourse. In terms of its organization, such discourse follows a question and answer format, which is typical of investigative hearings. Going back to the discourse, in the statement of Castro, which includes context, a hypothetical justification for killings and transitions to a specific legal question on the elements of self-defense. And the response of Duterte provided a concise definition of what self-defense is. However, it was mixed with his personal opinions as well as rhetoric. So structurally, the discourse of Castro, there was a build-up toward the inquiry. On the other hand, Duterte's response has an emphasis of directness and resolution through action. In terms of the its cohesion, there were pronouns that were used, such as kayo, nila, and also mo, and these pronouns helped establish the participant roles. Like in this case, or in the context of the discourse, these were pertaining to the police, suspects, or interlocutors. Castro uses and also so in a repeated manner in order to connect ideas and justify her question. On the end of Duterte employed or as well in order to highlight dichotomies, like as in when he said, "Kill the idiot or you will die." So the repetition, key terms like self-defense and danger and also kill, all of those terms recurred to emphasize the very core issue of the discourse. So Duterte's phrase, going back to Duterte's phrase as in the "kill the idiot" or "you will die as an idiot," it used a symmetrical structure to emphasize urgency and resolve. Now, in its coherence, going back to the question of Castro, I find her statement or question to be logically coherent, wherein she identifies a pattern. Like she stated about police justifying killings as self-defense, and then later on she provided a legal angle, which was where she was asking about the element of self-defense. On the other hand, the response of Duterte to the legal question of Castro, I find Duterte's response to be partially coherent because he answered the question by describing self-defense as protecting oneself when life is in danger. However, that rhetoric, as in when Duterte stated "kill the idiot in front of you," I find that to be distracting from the legal precision of Duterte's explanation, because it's also introduced a personal and emotional stance, and that personal and emotional stance deviate from or that digress from the expected norms of a legal discourse.
So for our linguistic features, we have first lexical choices. So the conversation between Castro and Duterte uses a mix of formal, informal, technical, emotive, and persuasive language that reflects their speaking styles and goals. So Castro blends formal terms like justify and elements of self-defense which fit the legal topic with informal fillers like no and ano, making her sound natural but less precise. She also uses technical words like self-defense to clarify ideas and emotive terms like killing and victims to highlight the gravity of the issue. Her questions are persuasive, prompting the audience to think critically. Duterte's language is more direct and informal with simple words like danger, defend, and kill. His phrases such as kill the idiot are emotional and blunt, showing passion and urgency. His persuasive tone encourages decisive action, though his informal style might be perceived as too strong for some people. So for syntax, the dialogue uses a mix of simple, complex, and fragmented sentences that reflect each speaker's tone and purpose. So Castro often used complex sentences to connect ideas and explain her points in detail, such as, and the only way na hindi kayo makulong is bigyan mo talaga ng panahon na lumaban. She also uses fragmented sentences with fillers like and no, making her speech more conversational but less precise. In contrast, her direct questions are clear and straightforward like, ano po ba yung elements of self-defense? Duterte's speech is more direct, relying on simple sentences for clarity, such as, when your life is placed in danger, you have the right to defend. So he also uses fragmented sentences that trail off likely due to emotional delivery, and imperative sentences like kill the idiot in front of you to express urgency and assertiveness.
So for the tone and style, the speaker confidently states their views about self-defense and the actions of law enforcement, particularly when saying the line, kill the idiot in front of you or you will die as an idiot. So they delve deeper into the topic by proving the legal concept of self-defense, specifically asking for clarification or an explanation of its elements, which is directly addressed to Mr. Duterte. The use of phrases like kill the idiot and you will die as an idiot reflects a sarcastic undertone, possibly highlighting the absurdity or moral dilemma surrounding the justification for such actions. So the tone of the speaker is bold and confident as they express strong views about self-defense and law enforcement. So by using phrases like kill the idiot in front of you or you will die as an idiot, the speaker grabs the attention with a mix of seriousness and sarcasm. The sarcastic undertone seems to emphasize the absurdity of ethical issues involved in justifying such actions. So the speaker also directly questions the legal idea of self-defense, seeking clarification on its elements, and addressing Mr. Duterte directly. So the tone is both assertive and critical, while the style uses sharp language and sarcasm to make the message more impactful. Next is the stylistic device. The speaker employs various stylistic devices to strengthen their message. For instance, the mix of English and Filipino. The only way na hindi kayo makulong, make the speech relatable to a specific audience while emphasizing the key points. The repetition of idiot reinforces the severity and emotional weight of the statement. And also, the direct address to Mr. Chair and Mr. Duterte creates a formal yet confrontational tone. And also the hyperbolic expression like "you will die as an idiot" exaggerate to drive the point home effectively. So the speaker uses different techniques to make their message stronger and more engaging, mixing English and Filipino, like in the phrase "the only way na hindi kayo makulong" helps to connect the audience and makes key points stand out. Repeating the words idiot adds emotional weight and highlights the seriousness of the message addressing Mr. Chair and Mr. Duterte. Directly creates a formal but confrontational tone, making the speech more personal and direct. So the use of exaggerated phrases such as "you will die as an idiot" emphasizes the speaker's point and leaves a strong impression on the audience. And also, for the non-verbal cues are evident. Gestures, tone, emphasizes. In the exchange of the use of gestures and tone varied between the speakers, highlighting their constructing communication styles. For example, Mr. Duterte refrained from using nonverbal gestures while explaining his points, relying solely on his verbal expressions. In contrast, Ms. Castro actively used gestures to convey her eagerness to elaborate further on the topic. In addition, the tone shifted dynamically, ranging from a questioning tone to one that was assertive and at times exasperated. So moreover, there was clear vocal stress on the key phrases such as elements of self-defense and idiot, which serve emphasize critical points and provoke reactions from the audience. These elements combine to create a layered and impactful interaction. So in the exchange, the speaker showed different nonverbal communication styles. Mr. Duterte did not Use gestures and focus only on his words, keeping his delivery calm and straightforward. On the other hand, Ms. Castro used the movement to show her enthusiasm and to make her points clearer. The tone also shifted through the discussions, moving from curious and questioning to firm and even frustrated at times. So key phrases like elements of self-defense, idiot, were spoken with strong emphasis, drawing attention to important ideas and speaking and sparking reactions from the audience. These gestures, tones, vocal stresses made the interaction more engaging and expressive.
So now we are here in the pragmatic features. So the first one is the speech acts. In this exchange, speech acts plays a significant role in expressing the perspectives of both speakers. So Speaker Castro poses a request framed as a
question to Duterte seeking clarification on the elements of self-defense. So in the conversation, you can hear there the line, as a lawyer, Mr. Chair, tanungin ko si Mr. Duterte, ano po ba yung mga or ano yung elements of self-defense? So Duterte responds with an assertion explaining his understanding of self-defense in practical terms. And also, his strong language and direct tone further emphasize his stance. In pragmatic features, there are implicators. So, for implicators, Castro indirectly implies criticism of the justification used by law enforcement in killing suspects during arrests, suggesting that such acts are often represented as self-defense. For in the conversation, madalas po, Mr. Chair, nababanggit ito pagpatay ng mga biktima ng yung hinuhuli nila, pinapatay nila. So Duterte, on the other hand, implies that self-defense is not only a right but a necessity in life-threatening situations. So reflecting his stance on dealing with criminal elements decisively. So the last one in pragmatic features is the politeness strategies. Politeness strategies are evident in Castro's use of honorifics such as using Mr. Chair and addressing Duterte as a lawyer, since Mr. Duterte is a lawyer, which shows respect while challenging his stance. However, Duterte employs a blunt and informal tone, using phrases like kill the idiot or using the idiot word to assert his point, which could be seen as a face-threatening act that challenges the decorum of the conversation. So this exchange highlights their opposing views on the legality and morality of self-defense in law enforcement.
Let's now move on to power dynamics and ideology. In terms of power relations, Castro is a legislator, meaning she makes laws and holds leaders accountable. When she questions Duterte, a former president, about police killings, she is trying to use her role to demand answers. She wants to make sure that police actions are justified and that they don't abuse their power. Duterte, as a former president, has a lot of influence and authority. He responds to Castro using strong language like "kill that idiot in front of you." This shows he wants to take control of the conversation and defend his views on self-defense. His position allows him to dominate the discussion and push his ideas about law enforcement. In terms of ideologies, the beliefs they express come from their roles. Both Castro and Duterte believe in self-defense, meaning people should protect themselves if they feel threatened. This shows they both care about safety. However, their views on how to achieve safety are different. Castro wants to ensure that police use their power responsibly and are held accountable for their actions. She believes in protecting people's rights. Duterte, on the other hand, thinks that using force is sometimes necessary or needed to keep order. He believes police should be tough on crime and that strong actions are justified when dealing with threats. So, to put it all together, the power struggle between Castro and Duterte shows how their positions shape their beliefs about justice and safety. Castro pushes for accountability and responsible police actions, while Duterte uses his authority to support a tough approach to law enforcement.
Hello, my name is Rachel Diego, and now let's proceed to the dominance or resistance in this discourse. So Congresswoman Castro took charge of the hearing, and her dominance against the former President Rodrigo Duterte was shown through her arguing for fairness, human rights, and the importance of legal procedures. She cuts off Duterte's responses, especially when she criticizes Duterte's war on drugs for dealing to illegal killings and not offering enough support for rehabilitation. She emphasized that he should be knowledgeable about the due process and giving importance to one's life. Duterte has a more practical approach, justifying killings as necessary to deal with problems like drug abuse and crime. He focuses on solving problems quickly, even if it means ignoring legal or moral concerns. Like for example, tapusin mo na. That is my philosophy. Congresswoman Castro also showed her resistance through her on-point counter-argument and stresses that the government should be accountable to the people and should focus on providing alternatives like jobs instead of punishing people. So she made Duterte admit that he orders his policemen in Davao to kill those addicts and throw away their bodies to the sea. She stated facts with proofs and proved that the elements of self-defense was not there, so it was taken away.
So number 6, the intertextuality. So first is the references to other discourses. So here we have 4 main topics, which is the legal discussion on self-defense, the police and justice practices, the cultural and political context, and the moral and ethical issues. So first, the legal discussion on self-defense. So this talks about self-defense law, which also allow people to protect themselves from harm without breaking the law. So in the video, Castro mentions the legal rules of self-defense, like needing to face real danger, not starting the fight, and using only enough force to defend themselves, which shows how the law decides when it is okay to use self-defense. Next is police and justice practices. This focus on how police use self-defense to explain their actions, especially when they kill someone during their operations. So Castro points out that the police often claim self-defense in controversial cases like killings during drug raids, and this raises concerns about whether they're abusing this excuse to avoid punishment, which has been a big issue in the Philippines under Duterte's leadership. Cultural and political context, which Duterte's words reflect his strong focus on fighting crime, even if it means using violence. His style fits with the idea that police and leaders should be tough to keep society safe. This shows how Filipino culture sometimes accepts strict or violent methods to fight the crime, especially when people feel unsafe. Moral and ethical issues. So here, Duterte's statements, kill the idiot in front of you, brings up questions about right and wrong. Is it okay to use violence to protect yourself? Should killing be accepted as a solution? These are the moral questions that force people to think about survival, ethics, and the long-term effects of encouraging violence. Next is the cultural and historical context. So, the discussion linked to real events in the Philippines during Duterte's presidency, which is in year 2016 to 2022. So, his war on drugs led to 1,000 of deaths, many of which were explained as self-defense by the police. And this caused debates about human rights and whether the police were abusing their power. And these problems are connected to long-standing issues in the Philippines, like the corruption and the lack of accountability in the justice system. So Duterte's approach has divided people. Some support his tough measure to reduce crime, while others believe that they harm human rights and the rule of the law. So the discussion shows how self-defense laws can be complicated, especially when police use them to justify killings. Under Duterte's war on drugs raised the serious issues about the police abuse, human rights, and justice. So it shows the challenge of keeping people safe while still following the law and doing what is right. So that is in the intertextuality. Thank you, everyone.
Good day, I am La Pastora Shane Marie, and for the evaluation and conclusion, the discourse between Congresswoman Castro and former President Duterte exemplifies a heated debate rooted in legal, moral, and political concerns surrounding self-defense and the war on drugs. Castro's approach emphasizes accountability, adherence to legal principles, and the humane treatment of individuals, particularly the marginalized. Her discourse is structured relying on formal language, direct questioning, and logical reasoning to challenge Duterte's policies. This highlights her dedication to human rights and due process. Duterte, on the other hand, employs a more informal and emotional style, using blunt language and rhetorical devices to assert his stance on self-defense as a practical necessity. His responses reflect a pragmatic but authoritarian ideology focusing on swift action against perceived threats, regardless of the legal or ethical implications. This style can be persuasive to those who favor decisive leadership but risks alienating those who value due process and accountability. The power dynamics in the exchange are palpable, with Duterte's interruptions and assertive tone attempting to dominate the conversation, while Castro leverages formal discourse and procedural rules to assert her control. Their linguistic and rhetorical choices reveal a clash between ideological frameworks. Duterte's strong-handed approach to governance versus Castro's advocacy for fairness and system reform. This discourse underscores the complexities of addressing sensitive issues such as extrajudicial killings and self-defense within the framework of governance and human rights. Castro effectively challenges the legality and morality of Duterte's actions during his presidency, questioning the justification of police killings under the guise of self-defense. Duterte's responses, though emotionally charged and rhetorically strong, often lack the legal precision necessary to counter Castro's arguments convincingly. The exchange ultimately highlights the broader ideological divide in Philippine politics, one that pits authoritarian pragmatism against democratic accountability. It serves as a microcosm of the ongoing debate over how best to balance public safety, justice, and human rights in addressing social issues like drug abuse and crime. While Duterte's rhetoric appeals to those prioritizing security and immediate results, Castro's structured critique emphasizes the long-term importance of law, rehabilitation, and systemic fairness in governance.
And this concludes our discourse analysis. Thank you.